Hello and welcome, this is Rooflemonger, and this is our tips and tricks guide for Android 17. So as always in these style guides, we're going to go over his whole moveset, and then from there we're just going to bust it down into a lot of little separate tips, which is not normally how this works, but since he's a very, tricky character, based, a lot of obvious weird offense and all that kind of stuff, I figure we're just going to bust it down to a lot of little tips here. So we're going to have a bunch of tips about his drive, that's his Rekka series here. About the wall dive, and we're going to go on from there. So without any further ado, let's get right to it. Now let's go to the special and super moves. Now before anything else, I do want to mention he does have a command normal. That is diagonal, down and forward, and the heavy attack button, and he'll do a bit of a slide. So not only, it's a slide, it's good for range, all that kind of stuff. For a lot of his combo structure, he's generally going to want to toss one out, so just keep that quickly in mind. Now for the driver system. So this is Accel driver. Accel driver is the one that goes forward, and finishing driver is the one where he takes a little back step. Now I did make a fairly exhaustive video going over all this stuff in depth, so I'm not going to go as exhaustive here, but just for the sake of completion, let's just talk about it. So there is 3 starters for either version, the backwards version or the forward dash version. That is light, medium, and heavy. The light version goes forward just a little bit, as you can see here. The medium version, what you just saw right there, goes further quite a bit. Not quite full screen, but just close enough. And the EX version will always switch sides, no matter where you are, as you can see here. So it does take a bar, and you don't get to not switch sides. So if you are spinning a bar, you are committing to switching sides. From this starter, we now have many permutations as possible. So let's just quickly go over them, and I'll just use the light starter after all of them. So neutral. That is not heading any direction, and another attack button. This will be light or medium, and you hit your second attack and you'll just do a straight punch. Now keep in mind, for all these, you can do these in any order you want, so just keep that in mind as we keep going forward. From that, we can then hit forward and attack, light or medium, and he will do an overhead. This is a true overhead. You must block this standing. Now another one here is back and attack, and he will do a fake overhead. So it looks like he's going to do the actual overhead, but he does not complete the motion. So this is kind of to trick people. Now next one up here is down and light or medium attack, and that is a sweep, and this is a true low. So right here we have a canned overhead and low setup. And since I mentioned you can chain these in any way, shape, or form you wish, you can do, say, that fake overhead we showed earlier, right into the low, just to trick people on their block. Next up here, the S button. We have a lot of permutations, so if you hit forward or back and S, you will do a wall dive in that direction. If you hit S by itself, you will do a barrier, and if the enemy attempts to hit you during this scenario, let's say we get the enemy here and they're going to attempt to attack us, you can then hit another button and you will do a follow-up to the blast. Now you can also do heavy button, and heavy will give you the EX shield. And the EX shield, you don't have to wait for the enemy to attack you. You can actually go into blast right away. You still need the separate button press, but you are not tied to having the enemy have to be able to hit you before you get your button press, so keep that in mind. Next up, we have down and S, and that is our blitz charge mechanic. So the first hit will give you charge, and if you do it again, the second hit will use the charge. Now, as mentioned before, you can use this in basically any permutation you so wish. So we can do our starter, go into the low, and then go into the neutral, and then go into the overhead, for example. Much the same here. We can do our starter, low, we can do our back turn and go in there. And keep in mind, not all permutations are going to combo, so that's pretty important. But we could do that as an option. Conversely, we can start with the back step version, go right into an overhead, then go into the forward step version and do another overhead. As long as this is not the same move, you are allowed to go into another move. So you can't do, say, back step palm into forward step palm. I won't let you do that because it's the same move, so I won't let you do it twice in a row. Conversely, say you do forward step palm overhead, then if you want a second overhead, you'll have to do the back step palm and then do another one. As you've already used your overhead once, so it's not going to let you do it again. You have to end the string and then start a new one from there, from the reversal driver point of view. So for each driver, both forward and backwards, basically look at it this way, that you can do each move once. Once you use it once in that permutation, then you have to go to the other one to use it the second time, be it in a block string or a combo or whatever have you. Also keep in mind, once you do stuff like the blitz charge, your combo's over no matter what. There is no potential fallout from the blitz charge. Same with the barriers and the wall dives. Once you hit that S button, your combo is not necessarily over, but the string from the driver is definitely over. Our next special move here is the blitz charge. That's down, down, S, and this is a move, along with the next move, that you can do from the driver Rekka series. So I saw there, he kind of just powered up, and that's all there is to it. Now if we hit it again, that power he got, he'll discharge it and shoot 2 fireballs. So this does hit up close, as you can see here, and obviously so did the fireballs. Now this move can only be done on the ground. If you do it in the air, nothing's going to happen. Now the follow-up, the fireball version of the move, can absolutely be done in the air. Now you might have noticed right there, he came to the ground awful quick. What happened there? So he has this property after he's finished a move, he goes to the ground lightning quick, he just drops right down. Much the same while he's on the ground as well, but no, it's not as pronounced. For certain combos, this is actually invaluable, as it's the only reason the combo even works. So this projectile is quite a strong projectile. But that is basically the reason why he can't do whenever he wants to do it, as you are kind of gated by the charge mechanic. Now thankfully, once again, since we can do this in the middle of a drive combo, it's quite easy to get the charge. Getting the charge is not the issue. Now one thing to quickly note, you will only get the charge if he completes the animation. So if you do something like a vanish, and you try to do it again, he's not going to have the full charge yet. He has to finish the animation to have that charge, so just keep that in mind. So the acrobatic assault, that's quarter circle backwards or forwards and the key blast button. And see here, you just kind of wall dive wherever you want. This move is air okay. And from this move, you're also allowed to do any aerial attack that you normally could otherwise do. So this is the same move from the driver version. Just the driver version, all you have to do is hit back or forward and key blast. You don't have to complete the whole motion. But yeah, it kind of lets them have unprecedented air movement in a game with really wacky air movement to begin with. Now one thing to note here, you are allowed to do any attack you normally could. So say you want to do jump heavy, sure, whatever. But keep in mind you also do stuff like your key blast, which is kind of important because if you want to get too belligerent with this, well, it's not too difficult just for the other person to down heavy out of the air, right? So sometimes halting your momentum is exactly what you want, and you can halt your momentum too by, say, doing like a homing dash, or there's a lot of options, but you can't just keep wall diving forever. That's not really going to happen. That is basically something that's going to be a little too crazy, so don't keep that. It's not an option on the table, basically. But yeah, it is more of a circumstantial move, honestly. This is not something you're going to base your gameplay around. There are some neat tricks, some neat gimmicks with this, and we'll talk about that later in the video. But for the most part, it's just if you think you want to be tricky for a moment, or if you really believe that your options are going to work, or conversely, believe in the power of assist, and assist will get you by. A beam assist will easily cover your aerial assault. Certain assists like Android 16, hey, not so much really. He ain't gonna reach from that far back, but depending on your team, this move becomes more viable depending on your assist layout and makeup. Moving on to his super moves here, we have End Game. That is his grounded level 1 super, and you see here he does switch sides. And you will not remain on the side you started on. So if you're doing whatever corner combo here and you want to end with your level 1 super, keep in mind you will no longer maintain the corner during this cinematic super. So if that's fine by you, that's great, but it's just something important to keep in mind, because if you're not going to kill the enemy, it doesn't matter if the enemy only has 1 point of health left. An enemy with 1 point of health left still does as much damage as a character with full health, right? So be somewhat iffy and a little wary on doing the super as your ender if you're not going to be able to finish off your foe in the corner, because otherwise now you are the one who is cornered. Now our second super here is the Barrier Explosion, and this will be basically your aerial level 1 cinematic. So you'll hit the foe here in the air and you'll both quickly fall to the ground. So this one will keep the same side unlike the previous one, so keep that in mind for some of your combo structures. Now, for some very specific time, which honestly I personally don't even have, you are able to call an assist right before the enemy hits the ground without the assist turning into a DHC, meaning the other person does their super. For me, personally, I just don't got the timing for it. I know it's possible. I've seen a video of it. So try it out. All I know is you have to be as high up as possible to make this viable. But give it a shot yourself. I personally just don't have any sense of the timing for it, so you will need some faster assists. Slow assists are not going to cut the butter on this one, but give it out a shot for yourself. But it is something that is possible. Our level 3 here is the Super Electric Strike. Now, just one thing to keep in mind really quick, this move is also air okay, and he'll just shoot kind of a big old green bolt of lightning. So it doesn't matter how close you are, how far you are, say you are not directly in front of the enemy, this move is a full screen move. As you see here, it eats up a lot of real estate. So generally speaking, if you're on ground level or close to it, there ain't much they can do to avoid getting hit by it. If you do this super in the corner during your combo, you'll be much closer to the enemy here, as you can see, roughly this far away. Versus if we were to do it, say, mid-screenish, you will basically be the full screen away from the foe, as this will push all the way back. So there is some setups in the corner, which we'll talk about later in the video. But full screen, it's not as useful. Certainly no Bardock full screen. You know, like Bardock has a lot of pressure after his level 3. But in the corner, you actually get a fair bit of pressure. So now let's just talk about some various tips here for the driver system. And our first one is the anti-airs. So here we have Accel. He's just going to do a mean old homing dash. You know, no one likes that homing dash. And what can we do about it? Like, you know, obviously, hey, we can down heavy him. But say for some reason, you know, you don't want to wait and be air active. You just want to go on an attack, right? Well, it's got your back, because guess what? And what happened there? What happened there? Let's try that again. Oh, it happened again. What does that say over there? Anti-air. So the palm strike part of the driver is actually air immune, meaning no amount of aerial attacks, and this I'm using the homing dash for simplicity's sake, but any amount of aerial attacks simply will lose to it clean straight up. So this is for the palm strike specifically. So if we try to do our backwards driver here, it's not going to be as good, although it does work. You just gotta kind of wait for the palm part to start. It won't really apply to any other version. So if you try, like, you know, the overhead or, you know, the sweep or something, you're not going to anti-air with those buttons. So this does apply to the light starter, the medium starter, and yes, even the EX starter. Even though it doesn't have the palm part of it, the EX starter is an anti-air. So if someone's trying to homing dash on you, you can rest assured you can get real tricky on them and just switch to the other side and kind of give them an old bop on the head. So yeah, down heavy still works, sure. But if you're afraid of, you know, instant air heavy or, you know, any number of things from the air, this will beat it. Now, just so you know, in case you're not aware, that is physical air move. So if Accel comes on you and, you know, he does like his beam, that ain't going to save you, just so you know. But for anything short of that comes from the air, that's not a projectile, you know, as long as it's a physical attack, this will beat it fair and square. Now, the next trick I'd like to show you for the driver system is the hold button trick. So if you hold the button with medium or EX version heavy, you simply won't do nothing. So here we are. There we go. I'm just holding the medium button here, and he ain't doing nothing. Much the same here if we do the backwards drive. Just nothing come out. If I do EX, hey, nothing's coming out. And just has its uses. So for one, just, you know, something very simple like this. Now, just so you know, there is a little bit of a lag. So you're not going to be able to, like, just kind of really go turbo and just attack right away. Because if you do, you'll still actually just wind up getting the Rekka series anyways. So there's a little bit of lag. So it's not going to be, like, unreactable offense or nothing like that, right? Just so you know. Now, with this in mind, we can actually get a little tricky here. So outside of the usual stuff like we just showed, you know, like do that Dragon Rush or whatever, let's go to the corner here. So if we hold the EX version, we don't attack and we take the corner from him. And how about we do that and we call an assist? Now you may be saying, well, Rooflemonger, assists don't cross up. And I'm going to tell you exactly, assists can't cross up. They're hard-coded not to cross up. So when you're doing this, that assist is the same side as you, meaning there's no cross up. So here, let's go to the other corner here. So here I am. This is me, and I got the dummy set to record, and all I'm going to do is hold down back. And I'm just going to show you here my inputs for this one here. So all I'm going to do is hold down back to block everything, alright? So here we go, let's see what happens. Oh, I'm getting hit. So the assist can't cross up, sure, no way, but since it's the same side as you, it's not a cross up. You yourself are the one who crossed up. And a particularly fast assist like Yamcha can actually come out faster than you personally could hit a button, since you do have that one a little bit of ending lag recovery as we mentioned earlier. So this is a really dirty setup, and I'm going to tell you right now, probably everyone's going to get hit by this the first time. It's super tricky, it's really greasy, it's really dirty, and it's an option. So this is going to really apply only to faster assists. So if you have an assist like Vegeta or something, Vegeta ain't gonna surprise nobody in this specific situation. But other than that, yeah, this is just a really neat little greasy trick. Once again, mostly keep to the faster assists, because otherwise people are gonna have more time to react. But it is an arsenal to keep in mind. But once again, medium or heavy, just hold that button and you won't do nothing. Now, this tip here is the vanish trick. Now, just so you know, it's going to depend on your combo structure a little bit here, and also it's going to depend on the characters you're fighting. This won't work on larger characters, just so you know straight up. This will not work on the larger characters, so you ain't doing this on like 16 or Broly. But if you want to start your combo something like this here, so as you can see here, that was a somewhat normal style combo starter for 17. So that's the medium, and the slide. And then what we're going to do is follow up with the light drive starter, medium neutral follow-up, and then medium elbow. And from there, we're going to vanish. And see here, the vanish went clear over his head, but he's not done being comboed yet. So as here, we managed to follow up with a full combo. Now, is this always going to be universally applicable? Not really. But it is a good, cool tool to keep in the arsenal, because if you have no assists available, this can be some of your better source of solo damage, as you know, sometimes, you know, you're just not going to have all the tools available to you, you're not going to have all your assists and all that kind of stuff. So it can be worthwhile to know. Also, it will switch sides, so if you happen to be in the corner and manage to sneak in a hit, you can take our corner situation and force it on the enemy. And then just kind of go from there and put them back in the corner. So once again, this isn't going to be universally useful, but it is just something to keep in mind, because it can just be what the doctor ordered in the right situation. Now, this particular tip we have mentioned in the previous video. However, I would be remiss if I did not mention it again, because, you know, hey, maybe you didn't watch that video. And that is the option select trick. So if you're not aware, when you do your driver, and you go for either the overhead or the fake overhead option, well, there's a bit of a gap there, and anyone just, you know, smashing on down heavy, they're gonna beat you for free, straight up. They're gonna beat you for free, so you gotta really watch out for that. Now, that said, we are not without some recourse here, and that is this option select trick. So here, we're gonna turn on our buttons so you can see what I'm gonna do here. So what we're going to do is we're going to do our same driver, and then we're just going to hit heavy right before we land. And then, hey, it worked. And actually, this will also work here with the just the regular S version, just so you know. And we can then, if your timing's correct, just kind of do a bit of a blast follow-up. So you can see here we have our helpful dummy set up here. We're going to have him play out the string as normal. Now we are going to try to down heavy him when there's that gap with the overhead. Oh, we just got blasted. So once again, if I don't do nothing, it'll just play out as normal. So no fuss, no muss. And if I do try to down heavy him, I'm going to get blasted. So, you know, you're going to have to practice timing a little bit, but as you can see, it's not too bad. Now there is one little caveat with this. So this is all well and good till we get to Broly. Broly plays by a little bit of a different rule set. See here, he just kind of tanked through that whole thing, right? And not only can he kind of tank through it, he can cancel that into something to beat you up real bad. Now, you can bypass the armor if you heavily delay the blast follow-up, but that gets a little tricky, because if he cancels that right away into, say, a shoulder charge, he's going to armor through the blast follow-up as well if you delay it. So it's going to be a little bit of a watch out situation where it's just not going to apply to Broly as much as everybody else. That said, that's just Broly. The rest of the cast is completely fine, but just watch out when this situation happens. So now let's talk about Android 17's assist. So as far as assists go, hey, it's kind of unique. So as see here, he does a little barrier, then he does this little palm attack, and this palm attack is a hittable box, and it does a kind of hit from a fair bit away here. As you see, that's a fair distance away and still manage to connect. So during the part where it's a shield, hey, it's a shield, right? It'll block hits. It's not quite as good as Android 18's barrier, just so you know. Hers does start up faster and the shield is active for quite a bit longer. But it is a thing, it will save you from a stray hit. And that palm strike he does there has a fair bit of range to it, so roughly around this distance it'll still connect. As you see here, it's got some sizable range, and in the corner it's got decent hit stun, so you can kind of follow up. Now the one thing about this here is it takes a while to kind of play out in full. And normally that's kind of a knock against an assist, but in this specific situation it's actually a bonus. So here, we're just going to switch over to Super Saiyan Goku here. I'm just going to show you exactly what I'm talking about. So we just did a full-fledged combo, a lot of hit stun, and we called 17 right before the super, and we managed to get 2 supers. Goku specifically is a character that a lot of people don't associate with getting solo double supers, like outside of the obvious, you know, that one combo you've seen to death, right? But in a normal situation like that, he's not really a character associated with getting that kind of help, because, you know, a lot of supers just don't facilitate that. But for 17, it will. Due to just, it has a very high amount of hit stun, and the fact that it takes them a while to actually, you know, shoot that projectile of his, you can actually facilitate double supers with a lot of characters you normally could not. So I don't have an exhaustive list here. I'm just using Super Saiyan Goku to show you an example of a character that in that specific situation normally could not get double super with the vast majority of the cast, and 17 will allow it. So play around. For characters that normally get quick double supers, you can do it just fine with 17. You just gotta call him early, because he will start up late in that attack. So and a character like, say, Vegito or something, right? Vegito can still get double super fine, just call 17 early, because if you just call him right before you super like you normally would, well, then he's going to be too late and he's just going to whiff. But, so he is a character that can facilitate double supers, and due to the length it takes his assist to actually connect, he can make certain characters get double supers that normally could never dream of getting double supers. Now, let's talk a couple wall dive tricks. The first trick I want to show you is the corner steal technique. So, when you bounce off the wall, well, you're obviously bouncing off the wall, right? And if you happen to bounce off the wall that the enemy is in the corner, for a brief split second, you are the one considered in the corner, not the enemy. Now, practical terms, this honestly doesn't really mean much, but for the purpose of calling assists, this is pretty key, as we can do something like this. What side did Yamcha just hit from? Well, he hit from the corner. Now, yes, just so you know, I did mention this here earlier in the video, assists cannot steal sides, so if we have the bot do the same setup here, I'm only down backing, and I down back him just fine. But that is not the purpose of this trick. The purpose of this trick is simply to confuse the foe, so we can do stuff like that. Visually, nobody's expecting this, right? And this is much better with assists that are somewhat quicker, and very importantly, assists with high block stun. Because an assist with high block stun in this specific situation will keep the enemy kind of locked in place for a little bit, and then you can kind of continue your offense from there. So we can just keep going and going and going. This is a much more visually trickier style this is a much more visually tricky style offense than, you know, this the usual kind of stuff here. And, you know, the usual kind of stuff, people have seen that before. But this kind of stuff right here, this is tricky. People might get confused. And also, if we're using a high block stun assist in this specific situation here, and also if we're using a high block stun assist in this specific situation, like the run-up Dragon Rush, you know, also becomes a viable tactic, including, you know, just instant overheads, or just run a blow, or whatever. This isn't a game-breaking technique by any stretch, because once this, again, the assist can in no way, shape, or form cross up, but still, it's just another avenue of offense, and a fairly tricky one at that. Now, another use for the wall dive I want to talk about is Tiger Knee Wall Dive. So if you're not familiar with the Tiger Knee technique, what it is you do your move, and then you just hit up forward or up back, depending on what direction you want. So what you're doing is your move, and then you're doing as low to the ground version of the aerial version of the move. So normally if we do wall dive forward, that's what we're going to see. And if we do a jumping wall dive, then hey, you know, we're going to see that, right? But if we do the Tiger Knee Wall Dive, so once again, we're just going to do the motion, then hit up forward, then hit the button. So we're doing as low to the ground as possible. Hey, we don't, you know, do this as big of a jump as, say, this previous version here. We are doing it fairly low to the ground. And as you can see here, if you want to let it rock just a little bit, we actually get some severe distance. And we're going to show that in the context of an offensive play. So say we are just going to do, you know, the bog standard combo that works for about a good half the cast, right? In this style of combo, you know, we have our sliding knockdown. So what we're going to do is apply that tiger knee jump technique right after the sliding knockdown. So as you see right there, we managed to basically chase the enemy using our tiger knee technique. So we're directly on top of them. We don't have to like run forward and do the usual chase. Now this is not to say this is a superior method by any way, shape, or form, but this is something the enemy usually doesn't expect. And honestly, considering how a lot of 17 is built, doing the unexpected is a big part of the game plan. So after your usual sliding knockdown, instead of just doing the usual setup, hey, maybe give that a shot. You'll be directly on top of the foe. Yes, they will get to track in whatever direction they will so choose, but still, it is an option and something to consider. Now, this is a quick word of warning for people who want to make combos and all that kind of stuff. When it comes to the driver system, each specific driver after the first scales horrifically. So say we use the medium neutral punch here. So by itself, it does 750. Now, if we do it as the second part of our Rekka series here, so first it'll do 950, that's fine. Our second hit, now it scales down to 525. Now remember here, this normally does 750 by itself. So each Rekka in the system basically counts as 2 hits of scaling instead of the usual 1. So if you're trying to find, whatever 6 Sparking Blast combos, I would highly suggest please get as many regular hits in before you start going to the Rekka part of the series of the combo, due to the fact just they scale much more severely than a regular style of move will. So just a little heads up on that. One thing to quickly note here about his level 3 game. Now I did mention the one thing to note here about his level 3 game. Now I did mention at the very beginning of the video, if you do this level 3 mid-screen, you're going to be very far away from the foe, but if you do it in the corner, you're going to be basically right beside them. And we can use that to our advantage fairly decently. So in this specific situation here, we are going to have the enemy wake up with his level 3. And then let's see what's going to happen here. So we're going to do a normal combo here. We're going to go to our level 3, and we're going to jump heavy attack him. And hey, managed to block level 3. Now let's say they're just going to get up as normal. What then? What then? They just get up as normal. Hey, our jump heavy connects. And that's basically the essence of it. So any reversal the enemy will try will lose this very simple setup. So either they do nothing, block, or they could reflect to or whatever, right? But if they are in place as normal, they will get hit by that jump heavy. And if they try anything invincible, be it a level 3 or a Dragon Punch style move, you will be able to land and block in time just fine. And since we're just talking about this real quick here, it's actually not unsimilar to Bardock at this specific setup, because you can just jump in, not do anything, go for a light, or you can jump in, and right before you hit the ground, you can air dash and then get a different style of aerial mix. So it can throw off timings for like certain specific setups. But yeah, just keep in mind, there's no specific time to it. After you do your level 3, just hold up forward and just go for it, and you're going to be safe against everything. Except Cooler. Don't do it against Cooler. His counter level 3 starts up basically right away, so you will get smacked. Just keep that in mind. Now, on to 17's general game plan. Long story short, he's just a very aggressive character. He doesn't have much in the way of a neutral, as much as Dragon Ball FighterZ defines it. He ain't going to be swatting people away with big normals, because he doesn't have them. His stand jab is like almost laughable in his T-Rex range. As you can see here, it's not really putting the fear into anybody's hearts here. So he's just going to rush down. While he does have a very good projectile in his Blitz Strike here, he does have to charge it up. So, you're not really going to be tossing these out in neutral anytime soon. And if you just do the raw charge up, you're probably going to get blown up for trying it. So we just got to attack. Now, when you're attacking, keep in mind here, one of the main things we got to really worry about when you're attacking is he's very susceptible to being reflected on a lot of his stuff on his record pressure. So I probably be handy if I set this to block, eh? But when he's doing his Rekka pressure here, there's so many gaps in it. So anything with the overhead is a gap. That's a big one here. Comboing into anything here, just like standard-wise, so we're doing like medium into Rekka, there's a gap there. Even if we go like stand heavy into Rekka, there's still a gap. So there's going to be a lot of gaps. So we already went over like the option select trick, but the option select trick, while it beats, you know, the down heavies, it doesn't beat reflect, right? So if you attempt to do a drive attack Rekka here into the overhead and they reflect, what's going to happen, you're not going to get your barrier. What's going to happen is they're just going to reflect and push you off. So with this in mind, I find it's very key that Android 17 is the point character on your team, because even though we talked about the assist has some usefulness, sure, it's not that amazing in the end, and he's an offensive dynamo, so one, that really kind of speaks to being point character anyways, and having assists can really close these gaps. Make sure the weakness in a combo where there might be a gap, there's no longer a gap. You just gotta keep in mind, because honestly, just mashing reflect against 17 kind of hurts him more than the average character, unless you want to just stick to the absolute basics. And if you want to stick to the absolute basics, most characters do the absolute basics better than he does. So it's going to be all about the drive mix-ups, you know, the fake outs and all that. And once again here, if you want to reflect the fake out, then hey, sure, by all means, you get a nice little punish. You can go onward from there. If you hit the button right away here, after the fake out, keep in mind, you will actually kind of directly go right back into the Rekka chain and you'll get reflected anyway, so you do have to wait a little bit. But if you wait a little bit, then sure. So the fake overhead is, generally speaking, if you don't want to keep assists going to keep your pressure unreflectable, that's going to be your best reflect bait. But once again, you have to be able to get into it to begin with, because as we already showed, anything into reflect is in itself reflectable. Now, we can also bait that as well. So say we do like medium, and we go into the drive. What we're going to do is go into the backwards drive, the backstep drive here. So to see here, if they hit deflect at fastest possible timing, just even the basic starter with the medium backwards drive will beat them clean. So we don't even have to get fancy with it at all in any way, shape, or form. The light drive, well, you're going to get bounced off, as you see here, that's the backstep drive. So it's a little too quick and the reflect will still catch it, but if they're prone to mashing reflect, the medium backstep drive is exactly what the doctor ordered, as it will beat generally standard deflect mash timings. One thing you might want to consider while building a team also is a character that can really take advantage of his blitz strike projectile. Because once he does it in the air, and generally speaking, if you're using a combo, you're probably going to use it in the corner. You know, stands to reason. He's an aggressive character and he wants to work into the corner. He goes to the ground very quickly, which means a lot of assists can really just catch the enemy as he's falling, and then 17 will be just right there on top of them. So, you know, not exactly a pro level setup to be sure, right? But we use Yamcha to catch the enemy as they're falling. We land right beside him and we keep attacking. And we can drag and rush and follow up from there. You know, a beam assist is always very standard. But, you know, as we showed, Yamcha would work just as fine too. And a lot of assists will work just fine. Since he hits the ground so quick, it kind of opens up a lot of possibilities that a lot of characters don't normally have. Now, yes, you do have to already be in charge, but thankfully, especially if you look at the companion combo guide, there's 1,000,001 setups to combo the first part of the charge. You have your charge, by the end of the combo, you're ready to go. You will have to play him basically pretty straightforward aggressive. Now, that's not a bad thing, you know. Certain characters like Bardock do straightforward aggressive really, really good, and so will he. But he is a lot trickier, so hopefully, you know, some of the previous tricks we went over earlier in the video can help you with, you know, can opening people, helping you open them up. A big thing is obviously you have to understand the drive system. There's so many more tricks and all, you know, gimmicks, everything, whatever you want to call it, that are not in this video, because honestly, I don't know them all. There's new ones being discovered seemingly by the hour as of the time of this recording of this video, because he's got a very complex moveset, because this whole system's pretty crazy, and it is designed to open people up, and so basically it depends on how creative you are as an offensive player to figure it out. Me, personally, honestly, be real with you, I'm not a creative offensive player. I like playing it slow. I like playing it lame. I like playing it defensive. So for me, this is not necessarily the character for me to truly express myself, and thus, I don't know 1,000,001 ways to open people up. I know what I've shown you in this video and a couple other little things that I'm working on the side. I don't have fully fledged out just yet. But yeah, if you are an offensive style player, you like mixing people up, you making them guess high-low, doing coin flip situations, all that kind of stuff, this is absolutely your guy. So you've reached the end of the video. Now, as far as 17 goes, hey, he's pretty different. He's not like a lot of the other characters in the game. He's definitely an offensive dynamo. That's where his bread is buttered. That's where you're going to win your game. When it comes to playing neutral, don't bother, to be honest with you. Do as little as you need to not die. But he's all about getting in and staying in. Unlike Bardock, he doesn't have a move to cheat neutral, so you know, there's no Rebellion Spear Call assist and then you win, right? But besides that, you know, it's not too difficult to get in the game. The Dragon Ball's a very offensive game, right? And once you get in, it's coin flip city. Maybe people guess high, low, all permutations in between, because there's so many ways to, you know, trick people and just really can over them, because that's where he is really going to succeed. There is some issues with it, sure, but you got to think, okay, wherever there's a gap where you can deflect, there's a point where you can do something else to get past the deflect. Wherever you can get down heavied with the overhead, there's ways to get around with, say, the option select, as we went over in the video earlier. There's a loud truck going by. You know what? I'm keeping it in. I don't care. Maybe you heard that truck. I don't know, but I did. Anyways, that's it for this video. So thank you very much for watching. Hope this video has found you well. Go out and play some Dragon Ball.